Yo, 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 what is going on? It's Draeden here. Recently, Skrillex has released videos of his Ableton project, and we saw some really interesting things going on, especially in his routing. So that really inspired me to make a tutorial about my routing combined with his. But I didn't want to just throw some super advanced info out there like that with no background or reason in my process. So this is why instead I got inspired to create a mini series of multiple videos of my process and thoughts when I create a cinematic bass track. But you can also apply those tips and tricks for any genre of music. I'll try to make the videos really short so you guys can follow along and not get lost in too much info. But as the series goes on, we'll get into some more advanced stuff. So in this video, we'll be covering the default template I use, which consists of 5 main things: the sample library, the sampler, the instrument presets, and some ways that you can save your presets in Ableton, hotkeys, and what's on the master. So let's get started. Alright, so here we are in Ableton. And the first thing I want to cover is your sample library. So if you guys are just like me, you download a bunch of samples during your time of producing, and it's all like chaotic, right? So what I would recommend is that you guys save your favorite sample in different folders, and that your folders are super clean, I guess. So this is how I did it. And this is really interrelated with the way I process my groups. So as you can see here, I have my drums. So I have 3 folders in there: one shot, loop, full kit. This is like, for example, if I just want to jam, and fills. In the one shot, I have some claps, cymbals, hat, kicks, perks, snares, tom. I have some bass, some drum groups, FX, some high bass, neuro bass, one shot, Reese, and sequence. And what you can do, you probably already heard that, but you can make some sound design session and just save your preset in one shot and whatever you want in these folders. So as you can see, there's some drums, FX, instrument, vocals, cinematic, and bass. I won't go through each of these folders, but the important thing to understand is that you want to put your samples in each of these folders so it's easy to find. And that may take a while. For example, when I did that, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, it took me like 2 weeks. So I went through every folders I had and just saved my favorite, like kicks, snares, and whatnot. And if you never done that before, I would recommend to save like maybe 5 kicks, 5 snares, 5 claps, a couple of hats, and just some samples that really get you inspired. So whenever you open up a session, you click on that sample and you're like, damn, I'm ready to make a track. So that was tip number 1. All right, so tip number 2 is to use the sampler, especially on your drums. So for example, we can load a sampler here. And once you're done choosing your favorite samples in your library, what you can do is to open that zone, go into your sample. For example, we're going to take the kicks. So take all your kicks, drop them here, click on select, and click distribute range equally. So now what you can see here is that all the kicks are layered in, and you can choose them with this little slider. So what you can do is now map this here and map it here. So now whenever you're playing, like play a C, you can just move that around. So that way, whenever you're working on a track and you feel that like your kick doesn't fit well, or your snare or whatever, you can just go through these samples like that by changing it. So it's way faster that if you have only put, for example, the audio like that throughout the track. So once you're done with that, another trick that I would recommend you to do is to map the decay and release here. So that way you have more control on your kick. Often what I'll do is I'll do a shape like that. And then you can shape furthermore your kick if you want to make it shorter, for example. Oh, and don't forget to put the voices on one. So like that, only one sample would be triggered at a time. Once you're done with your mapping here, what you can do is to call that, for example, kick, one shot, and then create a folder here. I'll already have mine. Just take that and drop it here. Kick, one shot. That's it. Okay. So you can do that with claps, hats, rides, snare, toms. I did it with a bunch of different instruments. Okay, so that brings us to the third tips. It's gonna be to save instruments that you like. So for example, I'm using a lot of strings and orchestra stuff. So I lay down my favorite instrument and save them as a big instrument. So whenever I need strings, I just have to tap strings, got them here, drop them. All right, so here it is loaded. So as you can see here, everything is named, everything is ready to go. I already have some process, but I turn it off so it won't use too much CPU. And yeah, that's another way to really save your presets or instrument. Okay, so another way to save instrument and their post-process in Ableton is to make a MIDI track, put whatever you want on it. We're just gonna put a auto filter. Here you can put all the post-process you want. And then after you've done your MIDI track, just take that MIDI and drag and drop it here. You can name it, and that way you can hear the sound before dropping it into your session. All right, so tip number 4 is to use hotkeys. I have this utility in mono on my master, and I put another plugin that I'm only hearing the sides. And whenever you're writing music, you can always toggle like mono and sides, so you can pinpoint every frequencies that you have to fix. So that's about it. So finally, on the master, what I have, it's only a saturator. And I put that because I'm gonna put some saturator with digital clip on my master later. But this is just for cutting a bit of the dynamics. And just a limiter, but nothing special here. And finally, on my master, what I'm using is Voxengo Span and Spectrum. And when I start using them, it was really a game changer because you can really pinpoint some frequencies that are that just needs to be fixed. So this, and also Isotope Insight for the LUFS reference to compare with other tracks, to just to make sure they're super loud. So that's it for today's video. Guys, if this video was helpful in any way, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you won't miss any of the content. Also, let me know if you guys have any more tips and tricks for your workflow that you want to share with the community. So that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Peace.